It's been a while since my last movie review. I apologize for that, but I had to see this one. The Long Walk. So The Long Walk is based off of a novel that was written by Stephen King. And actually, fun fact, this is the first novel that Stephen King actually ever wrote. Not the first one that was published, that was Carrie, but the first one he wrote, and he wrote it under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. I feel like it was an honor to see this adaptation of it. So in The Long Walk, America is in shit times, but every year they round up 50 people to just walk. It's a contest. They continually walk down a road and they just can't slow down. If they slow down or stop, they get a bullet to the head. So these guys just gotta walk until there's one left standing.
This is walk or die.
The winner gets an enormous cash prize and one wish granted by the higher-ups. And I know what you're thinking, this sounds like the Hunger Games kind of. Well, that makes sense, right? That makes sense why this movie was directed by Francis Lawrence, the director of all the Hunger Games movies except the first one. I guess he just likes doing movies with that kind of premise. Makes me wonder why he's not the one directing the Running Man remake. Now, this movie was great. It took a while for me to really get to that point, though. Like, I was enjoying it for a long time, but then at the end, it brought it all home. I was like, yeah, that stepped over the line into greatness. The characters are super well written. Our main character, his name is Ray Garrity, played by Cooper Hoffman. I don't recognize him from anything else, but he's the one that we attach ourselves to emotionally. Actually, there are a few characters in that category, but he's our main one. He's got his own motivations for joining this thing because it's talked about in this movie that people are volunteering to join this long walk because America is in such shit times that winning this thing is really their only chance to bring their family or whatever situation they're in out of the bad situation they're in. It's terrible. This is like the Hunger Games if it were more realistic. The social commentary is there for sure. But Peter McVries, played by David Johnson, who we remember as Andy from Alien Romulus last year, he was the best character in that movie. He's the best character in this movie. Well, arguably. I'll get there in a second. Because he's the positive one. He's like, yeah, we're all just gonna get along and get this done. He's really the rock of this whole thing. If someone finds themselves stumbling, depending on where they stand with Pete, he's gonna be there for you to get you back on your feet. And his ideologies, the way he sees things, again, he's just so well written. He's got some great dialogue in this movie, dude. And really, the center focus of this movie boils down to the bond that builds between Pete and Ray. They really do become close friends over the whole course of this thing. And you buy it. The acting is fantastic, which will then bring me over to the Major, played by Mark Hamill. The Major runs this whole long walk situation, and he's every bit as much of a dick as you saw him be in the trailers.
Who's ready to fucking win?
Dude is awesome. Like, there's a point in this movie where one of the characters just tells him off. He's like, fuck you, eat a dick. And the Major's just like, that's the spirit, boy. You got some sack on ya. I've always loved Mark Hamill, man. I mean, not just because he's Luke Skywalker, but because he's also the Joker, you know? One of the most iconic Jokers in DC media. So Mark Hamill is no stranger to playing a villain. He just brings that wickedness to live action on the big screen. And he's great at it. Now, this movie, as you might have guessed from the premise, it's pretty stressful to watch. Because really, it's all about how long you can keep your sanity in a situation like this. The stress is always there because for the whole hour and 45-ish minutes that this movie is, we're constantly walking down this road. We simply just cannot stop. That's not an option. It's kind of like A Quiet Place in that way, where you just have to constantly be quiet. You can't talk loud. If you do, you die. Just like in this movie, if you slow down and stop, you die. No matter how you slice it or what angle you look at it from, that's pretty stressful. I wouldn't last in this situation. I'd get the axe about a day in, max. Nah, actually make that just a couple hours, honestly. And because of that situation, you feel the constant drag of this movie, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in this case. Usually when people say a movie's dragging, that's usually seen as a negative, you know? It's like, oh, the movie's so slow, it's dragging on. Not so in this case. The draggy feeling in this movie is because of the situation at hand. We're walking for miles upon miles on end with these strangers we don't know being watched by soldiers and broadcast for the entire nation to see. That can get boring, so we make friends, and that's another strong point of this movie, is the dialogue. This movie's all about the dialogue, really, because when the walkers get to talking, they bring up some pretty important topics and points. They talk about where their society is now. They talk about themselves and what brought them to be here. They talk about the Major and how much of a shithead he is. And all the while, we're still walking. And I mean, that being said, there'll be points, you saw this in the trailer, where someone will get too exhausted or be in so much pain that they just have to stop. They can't go on anymore. And, well, that means death. Bullet in the head from that carbine. Man, oh man, this movie gets violent with those kills. It's graphic, but that's good. The kills in this movie are not violent for the sake of being violent. They're violent to show just how fucking brutal the long walk can be. It's unapologetic about it. And every time someone dies, cause you know how situations like this go. Starts off with a crew of 50 and it ultimately just whittles down one by one. And some characters do have plot armor. Like if you've seen enough movies, you can tell like who's gonna make it to the end and who's not. But ultimately, the story is told so well that you don't mind. Or at least I didn't mind. I also gotta touch on the atmosphere and tone of this movie. A lot of earth colors here because for most of it, they're walking through a lot of just grassy fields. It's very desolate and barren, and that adds to the overall dreary feeling of this movie. And actually, I just learned that this whole movie was shot chronologically. That's actually a rarity. Usually movies are shot out of order, not this one. That just gave this movie even more points in my book. That's awesome. Lastly, gotta touch on the music. The score in this film is really good. It was written by Jeremiah Freites of the Lumineers, and it makes sense. A lot of acoustic guitar, a lot of twang. Also adds to the flavor of this movie, because a lot of people in this movie, they talk with southern accents. No thing about the long walks, that sometimes the walk's so long you don't even know you're walking anymore, know what I'm saying? You best not stop walking unless you want a bullet in the head from the major, know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like that. Guys, in the end, the long walk is fantastic, because really this movie's a perfect marriage. It's a formula for success. It's an adaptation of a Stephen King novel, directed by Francis Lawrence, who directed most of the Hunger Games movies, and it's about a Hunger Games-like scenario, just Stephen Kingified. It's a match made in, well, I guess not heaven, but a little south of there, I'm sure. But it makes for a good time on the big screen. Great characters, awesome dialogue, very well shot, killer score. All that's missing is a great rating for me, which I will provide now. For The Long Walk, I will say, go see this movie right now. And yeah, this is just my Stephen King shirt, I guess. Only one I got. So, The Long Walk. Have you seen it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And since we're coming up on the last few months of the year, of the rest of the movies coming out this year, what are you looking forward to the most? Me? Well, if you've been subscribed to me for long enough, you already know what it is. But whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Peace!